Right, we are going to start our meeting. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. It is 6 p.m. and this is the DDA meeting. First, we'd like to do a call to order. Actually, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Kim, do you mind doing a roll call for us?
Sure.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
It's okay. Let's see. Mr. Aliaga? Gus Zatuna?
Here.
Did I say that right? Sorry.
Correct.
David Gittens?
Present.
Kendall Petzel?
Here.
Eric Yankee? Nate Neiman? Forrest Milzo? And Sam Morocco.
Here.
Awesome. So one thing that we need to do is we need to amend the agenda. We wrote the wrong date on the agenda, so we need to make a motion to amend the agenda for the approval of the minutes for 5/15/2024 and not July 17th, 2024.
I'll make a motion.
Support.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. So the next item on the agenda is a presentation. Dick, do you want me to just keep going?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have anything, I'm all under agenda items.
Okay. Yep. So public comment is the next item. I don't see anybody online right now. No. Nobody's present. So we've got the review of the agenda. We've got financial matters, and we've got the reports. Reports, resolutions, and recommendations. So property acquisition update. The last thing that we know, so the acquisition of the property on Dixie Highway has been purchased by the township, and our DDA board is leasing that. We were able to get the township to include that property as part of their insurance under their blanket coverage. So that's fantastic. We don't have to get separate insurance for it. And so the next thing we would want to do moving forward is we're going to want to talk about the demolition of that building and the parking lot. Within the package that we received, there's a number of structured items. They need to be, bids need to be sent out or submitted by, if I remember right, October 24th? Okay, so by October 24th, is that going to be something that's going to be on our website, or where can people that want to make bids?
Yeah, it will be publicly, advertised, yeah.
Okay,
On the township website and probably through one of the larger, like Mitten or one of the other larger websites too. But we're hoping that what we're gonna be able to do is attract local contractors too. So we may, we can also send these out individually if we have names, people that we wanted to receive this.
yeah,
Contractors who would be qualified to do this. And I do wanna talk about, there's a technical issue, actually Sam and I have been talking about it, that we'll need to cover, but, you want me to just go ahead and I have a few more facts about this, or you want me to just?
well, one thing I want to ask about, it sounds like we need to do a lead abatement or a asbestos abatement test to make sure that there's no asbestos, there's no lead, because
And we've done that.
Okay,
We have done that. I wanted to expedite as much as I could here, and so because it's within the township procurement policies, remember we got the environmental assessment done prior to purchase, and is cleaned. The only thing that we have on the property that we have to figure out removal of is a septic tank. And I'm actually talking to I spoke with DPW about some assistance that they may provide. They're disconnecting utilities. The building official is seeing to it that the gas and electric is disconnected, so that a contractor will not have to deal with that. One of the things that we have to do, because we're a public entity, is we have to, we had to have an asbestos evaluation done. Not surprising that the floor tile and the glue associated with it has asbestos. It's an old building. And also the window caulking and door caulking, again, pretty unusual. The one gray area that came out of the report, and Sam and I have talked about this, is the environmental consultant did not test the roofing material, but assumes because of the age of the building that it had asbestos. Now, I talked to the building official today, and he believes that as long as the roof is, removed by hand, essentially, and properly, how would you describe it, Sam? Bundled it or something, properly contained, it can be done, because it's not a material that they call, the term is friable.
Yep.
And it doesn't, in other words, it doesn't disperse in the air. And so I don't think, from what I'm understanding now, that's not a big deal. We will have to have a contractor in there who is certified asbestos removal to take out the flooring and the glue, and maybe that same person, Sam, you might know, can do the roof. But it just has to go to a type 2 landfill because it is a hazardous material. Once that's done, then basically, we can have a contractor come in there and just literally knock the building down and dispose of it.
What I would suggest is that when we figure out who's gonna do the demo, we've already gotta get somebody out for the other stuff prior.
The asbestos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like,
okay.
I use, a company called Green Environmental, but, for asbestos abatement, because we do so much historical work, but there's other companies. We may be able to just, as part of the abatement of the other two things, verify that the roof is a contaminant, have them throw that in, like, hey, well,
What's the name of the company again?
Green Environmental.
Okay.
Mike Green is his name.
Can you get me their contact
Yeah,
information?
yeah, I got his
Okay.
cell phone
I mean, because
number.
if the amount is under, I can't remember what the exact amount is, we can, I think we can do this without having to go out for bids for the asbestos removal. As Sam knows, I've been trying to expedite this so that you can,
Oh, absolutely.
so that
Yeah.
you can get this building knocked down, and so next year you're gonna really hit the ground running on moving forward with this project. So our goal has been to get this site remediated
Right.
essentially
ASAP.
this fall.
Right. We have a bid, we need to get a few more, so I've been reaching out to some of the local excavators that tear down houses, and stuff to see if they've got interest in it, so that's,
That's good.
separate from the regular RFP, but, pretty much we can, to tear the building down, we should be looking at, under $15,000 for the building removal, as long as the asbestos has got a clean thing. Then we were gonna get a separate number for the parking lot removal, other than the apron approach to the building on the county side of the sidewalk. And then, the septic tank removal would go with the building, along with all the foundation work, so there's nothing left underground on the property.
Sam, I spoke with Dave McKee a little bit about this. We may be able to get DPW to do the concrete removal. What do you think?
The asphalt parking lot?
I think they have the equipment.
They might be able to. We've got a asphalt crushing plant right, a mile away.
Yeah.
So the guys that own that is who I contacted to
Okay.
get that out of there. I think it's like $1,500 or
Oh,
something.
well,
They'll
then
take
shoot.
it all away
Yeah,
and
then-
recycle it,
yeah,
so.
then that's the way to go.
And then fill it in, grade it out with dirt, plant some seed, just so that it's ready for next year. We should be able to get all of that done for under 20 grand.
Okay.
If we use local guys, that's at least the feeler I'm getting from the numbers that I'm seeing, so. But we gotta give everybody an opportunity, obviously, to bid on it, and But I think Dick's right, it's under a certain amount, so like the abatement thing, we could get done without having to go through a full procurement, the whole
Yeah.
policy, cause it's under $5,000 or whatever
Yeah.
the number is.
Well, the
Uh,
fortunate thing, and I'll talk about this later, I mean, the money is in your budget. You have money in your budget, so.
I'm just being frugal with it until we.
Well,
get
and you
something
should be,
going.
you know, and that's
Yeah,
fine. And
stretch it as far as we
you know,
can.
and you should be, but the point of it is that it's not, you know, when we approach the board about, advancing the money on the purchase, you know, the payback is over 3 years. So, and I did that on purpose, so that you would have money for the next 3 years. In other words, your entire budget wasn't gonna be taken
Payment.
up with paying the township back for the purchase of the property. You're gonna have money to actually do things with. So, and they were fine with that. So, so you do have money in this year's budget. You will be collecting revenues next year. So budget-wise, I think you're fine. But I'll get into that in the financial report. So what I will need from you is authorization to get these RFPs together to proceed with the asbestos removal. And I'm working through the building, we are working directly with the building department. I have a person in my office, Mike Radzik, who actually wrote this. Mike was the public services director for Ypsilanti Township, which is a large township in Washtenaw County, before he came to work for us. And he's had lots of experience with building removal in his role in that particular way. In particular, when he worked with Ypsi Township for 16 years. He's working with Dave Moran. We obviously have a very strong relationship with the building department. And so I envision that those two will work very closely together to get these things done in these sequential steps. But the first thing, I think, is to get the asbestos removal done. The second thing, I mean, we got the evaluation, get the asbestos removal done. The second thing is obviously to get the building knocked down, and then finally it will be to have the asphalt, and probably, it's on a slab, isn't it, Sam?
The building, yep.
Yeah.
And the footings,
And,
so.
and that will have to be, that'll probably be would the general contractor be able to do that, or would we have?
No, they're gonna take it all. The
Okay.
building, the foundation, the slab, the septic tank.
But you don't, but the asphalt has to be done separately?
Well, it doesn't have to be done separately, it's going to a separate place, you wouldn't want it mixed up with the concrete,
Yeah.
cause we'd wanna recycle it, it's cheaper for them to dispose of the asphalt, so we get a
Okay.
cheaper price if we work on the parking lot, do all the work, then take the parking lot out, that helps with the mud mat and not dragging dirt out into the road, so you kinda back
So-
off with the asphalt, and then
So we should,
Bring in
so we
dirt.
should try to do that separately then.
it should
And
be,
the last-
or using the same contractor as a second phase, so
Okay.
it's building structure and foundation and septic
First.
tank removal, then parking lot removal, and then fill, so that the lot drains and revegetate, so that's how the quote that I got already that
Okay.
I'm turning into the city came in those 3 steps.
All right, and then I'll
And they
make
each had a
sure,
number, so we could,
and I'll
we
make
can
sure
mix
that's
and
how this,
choose the pieces too,
yeah, I'll
if
make
it's
sure that's how this
financially
is written in
beneficial.
here then.
Okay.
We could have a different company do the fill-in and landscaping if they're, I think it's good to keep them line items, so we can shop each of the steps,
Yeah. I saw in here, part of the requirements for the bid would be either to remove or to crush the septic tank. Have it pumped first.
If it's necessary.
If
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
find
right,
it.
it might not need to be pumped, but.
We should find it first.
Yeah, if crushing it would be,
Well, for some reason, the
An option
environmental
too.
consultants found it. So I don't know if they put it, I can't remember if they put it in the report where it was located, but,
Right. We
I
could
mean, the
always-
site was connected to water and sewer, but they just left the septic tank on the site.
Yeah, and as a rule, I just, don't leave any
Prevents a
debris, don't leave any,
sinkhole or
don't leave
something,
any debris, and just
Yeah.
make them take everything, it's not gonna cost us any more to have the tank removed than it is to have it crushed, and then we're not dealing, it's just gone.
I think it's cheaper to be removed than crushed.
You know, cause you're just gonna bury it. We don't wanna bury anything, cause we don't know what we're doing there yet. We might wanna put something on a foundation. I don't wanna be dealing with that later.
Okay. Do you know why they didn't test the roof? Like, was it not part of their scope of work, or, I mean,
It's a long.
they were there for the whole
yeah,
building.
I've
I
been
saw
dealing-
them there, I saw a
I've been
van
dealing
there.
with this for the last week.
That's a good question.
Apparently, there is an exclusion in their proposal that we ran this through the township engineering firm. They were not aware, nor were we, that they had this exclusion in there. I mean, we could make an issue out of it, but I've essentially think we just need to move on here. We've gotten what we needed, which was the report. And from everything that I know, that removing the roof is not that big a deal.
Well, we'd have to remove it separately from the building, so that's why I asked,
Yes.
because if it didn't have asbestos, then we can get rid of the floors, put it in bags, abate it, great, and then just take the whole
Well, if it
building
doesn't
out,
have
whereas we're
asbestos,
adding
the
another.
whole thing's just getting loaded out,
Pardon
roof and
me?
all. If it doesn't have any asbestos,
It does-
the roof and the are just gonna be all loaded into the trucks.
And we may have the
all
asbestos
mixed up.
contractor, we'll say, first determine if it is, and then, remove it. If Green Environmental can I'm not gonna go, here's the thing, I don't wanna go back to this firm and ask them to go out there, not gonna cost you any more money
Sure.
by having this firm go out there and pull off a shingle and test it. I think we just go with the person that's gonna do the asbestos removal, tell us if the roof needs to be removed, if it's asbestos or not, and they'll know what to do.
Negotiated into the
Right.
abatement part. I was a asbestos abatement contractor for 20 years, so I know how they work.
That kind of
It was too hard to, it
Kind of
explains a
explains why
lot.
Sam is the way he
Yeah,
is.
I worked in a silo at the Ford factory too long. But that's the way to go. We don't want to assume it's contaminated, because the cost of disposing it in separate things, we'll just get somebody to test it. It's the best plan.
Yeah.
We don't want to chase good money with, chase bad money, so it's no big deal. I think we can get any of the abatement contractors to throw in the $75 test, that they're the ones that send it out to all the labs and all, we don't, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal.
No.
Okay, fair enough. So, it's good that this is all going out public, that contractors can place bids on the demolition. I had somebody in mind, so I'm gonna definitely tell them, exactly what steps they need to do to submit a formal bid, if anybody else has any people that they know.
It will be on the website.
Yeah,
It'll be
what
made
we'll
public.
do is, when we actually post it, I will ask Brian to inform the board of when it gets posted on the township website, and we'll let you know, and then if you have any contractors you wanna refer to it, just ask them to go to the township website. All above board, there's nothing wrong with doing that at all, you're not steering business anywhere to anybody, it'll be all a completely fair process. But we're gonna do the asbestos separately, and I would like to, if I can, just do a sole source on that. And, because we wanna get that, nothing else can happen until we get that done.
Yeah, that'd be great to have that done by the time all the bids are in, by
Yeah.
October 24th.
And it all comes in as sealed bids, and then they open them all at one
Right.
time,
Right.
to see who won it, so, but from my experience, I think that those numbers I'm saying are in line with what I would expect, a small little building in those phases to be done at, so I think it's real reasonable for us.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I'm looking for is formal authorization to move forward with some of the stuff that I've already been doing. But I've only done it, really in the interest of expediting this project, but I would like authorization to proceed with procuring an asbestos contractor and to complete the RFP process and get it out for advertisement so that we can actually, hire a demolition contractor. So that's the authorization I'm looking for.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
go for it.
You want me to?
Yeah.
I'll move that we authorize Carlisle and Wortman to move forward with procuring the asbestos contractor to abate the identified asbestos from the report, and that we also approve that they continue to work with the building department and creation and implementation of the RFP to get the bids we need for the demolition of the building, the parking lot removal, and the revegetation of the site until the DDA comes up with a plan to revitalize it.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Great.
Awesome. So second item would be the Gateway Park proposal. And I'm assuming that means, you know, we're talking about design options, so, this will kind of blend in the subcommittee, reports. We were, I know my subcommittee, we were kind of waiting to see what we were gonna do with the demolitions, obviously, step one.
Right.
Once we get that leveled out, we can focus on what we're gonna do for design. I did see as part of, the proposal from, the Carlisle Group, that they have a proposed way to do at least two designs, correct?
Yeah.
Sit down, do initial building, what are we looking for, so that's something that,
And this is not the sign design, mind you.
right.
It's the site
It's for
design.
the site,
Yeah.
yes. So that we can get together and, you know, draw up ideas of what we want, and then they bring that to life, give us two options, and then, you know, we'll decide on which option we like. So that's something, does anybody have any thoughts or ideas of what they'd like to do? Gus, it sounds like you might have had alternate idea than we talked about with the park, or do you have any thoughts on what you wanna do?
Not necessary for the park, but, like the flag poles on Dixie,
Mhm.
up and down. We haven't had anything, since we began meeting, so I was thinking, you know, like to have some kind of like flag every season differently, and when cars passing by, they realize they are Independence Township or the DDA area.
Mhm.
So, at the same time, we can show the citizen that we are some kind of somebody working on the
Yeah.
area.
I mean, we can do more than one project at once, right?
Yeah.
Did you have something you wanna add, Kim?
Just a kind of a wild thought going on right now is that reconstruction of the Sportsman's Club.
Yes.
And, has anyone thought about taking a back portion of the lot that we had acquired and trying to give it to, or sell it to them for more parking? That would alleviate a lot of maintenance stuff for us in the future, open up a little bit more parking perhaps for him. In that, all in the scope of the site plan that we're trying to develop, might be something to consider. It'd also bring a little bit of extra cash back in the flow of things.
That's a great idea.
Since he's redoing, it's obvious he's redoing his whole site itself. Now would be the time to at least approach him about it if anyone thinks that's a feasible plan. Because every year you're going to be maintaining it, you're gonna be, you know, cutting, you're gonna be planting it, every year, that back end.
Mhm.
What is it going to, there's not people that are gonna go there and play,
Mhm.
but I see the point of the bus stop, I see the point of the sign, but that only takes you so deep.
Mhm.
The rest of it perhaps he could use,
Yeah.
and,
We had talked in a previous meeting about doing like almost like a garden walk or something like that, a destination with benches and things like that within that space. But I can't remember, I feel like somebody had mentioned that the owner that we bought the building from, they had some kind of strife or something like that with the Sportsman's, and he wouldn't sell it to them, or Sportsman's wouldn't agree to pay. I don't remember exactly what it was, because you would think that they would have done that already since it's
just
been for
between the
sale.
two owners, yeah.
But now they have a different owner, right,
Right.
the township. So, that's not, I don't think that's a bad idea to, you know, approach them. Obviously, I think it would require splitting the
Sure.
lot that we own.
Yeah, and combining it in, I don't think
I
it'd be
think
a
it's-
downfall, but.
A little premature to say that we don't need all the property until we have a plan. Because
That's
I
kind of
feel like,
the idea of the process, yeah.
I feel like that we got two different, from when I talk to residents and people even on this board, that we got two different visions. Some people see a sign, welcome to Independence Township.
Mhm.
Some people see something much bigger and grander and, you know, than a sign location. That's why, in my opinion, like putting a sign in front of Lighthouse that's just slapping a sign up in front of a building, that's what everybody's got. That's not an identity changer or a streetscape changer, and I don't know whether we're gonna need the whole property or not, cause we haven't worked out what we're even using it for. I do wanna make sure that we screen the whole, somehow almost screen the whole entire Sportsman's Bar parking lot with our park. That's going to be the backdrop of coming into the township. We don't want their parking lot to be the backdrop, you know, so I'm looking at a bigger scale than what, you know, than a sign. But on the other hand, what I was kinda wondering, Dick, is that like, so we've had everything from, you know, like Lake Orion did their entranceway park coming in on 24 as a Veterans Memorial Park, okay, and it has their sign. You know, is it, you know, is it, you know, how do we, before we agree to like the two concepts, you know, I would like to have like a workshop or something to give direction to the two concepts, no matter how it works into the quote, you know what I mean? That, do
Well,
we
I
want
think that's
our-
what the initial meeting is all about.
Okay, so like,
Yeah.
kinda like that, so like
Right.
if, do we want people to be able to donate memorial things to the site? Do we want sculptures, you know, from local artists or whatever, placed through a walking path among the flowers? Do we want it to be more, you know, military-based? Do we want, Joette brought up, or somebody brought up the idea, I don't know if it wasn't Joette, but someone else, about how you used to drive into towns in Odell, like the Lions, the Optimists, and all their little logos, and kind of tell you what kind of community organizations and involvement. Could that be somehow implemented into the sign, into the border or the bottom, or whatever? And I don't even know how big the mass of the sign is, but that was, like, I think that, I don't wanna jump into two conceptual plans of it, you know, you know, I think the first meeting is gonna be the meeting of like, what are all the possible ways we could develop it, and then start narrowing down the process of, cause if you involve the Daughters of the American Revolution, or the people that do the pots, the garden club that does the pots on Main Street, like there's people maintaining it all the time for you that help in that maintenance. So there are community organizations that you could involve that would pick up to make sure that it never falls into disrepair, that the safety path doesn't end up with it, and it's not an important project to them, or they're not passionate about keeping it up because it's just an employee sent there to
Could I-
cut the grass or
Can
thing.
I jump in here?
Okay, yeah.
Because if you read the proposal, it was exactly what you're suggesting, but maybe it's up to you how extensive you want this to be. Because the very first step was to meet with whoever you decide to discuss what your objectives are, what amenities you want on the site, what opportunities there are, and other irrelevant information. We do that before we started drawing stuff.
Right, and I kinda wanna know, how do we feel that we, you know,
Yeah.
how should we get to, that step of what should, you know, what are all the gamuts, you know, all the other parks you guys have done and different, you know, you had mentioned the sculptures and the ones out in Ann Arbor, and, you know,
Right.
interesting reasons to go there, you know, I don't know what, is out there either, you
Well,
know?
Yeah, I agree with that as far as in the concept, but that's why I'm bringing it up now, because at that point,
Yeah,
it needs to be an option. It is not at the end after we decide, you know, that, first of all, we have to see how much of the signs do we need. You've got quite a distance here to fill up.
It's a
And you
hundred
could-
and 45 feet.
Yeah.
And nobody's gonna, you know, look at where it's at. It's not a walking path. It's not somebody's gonna hang out there at that location. However, if you put an art sculpture up there and benches around it, they may sit there for the bus pickup, which would be very great, but you have more than enough room for that. So just, it needs to be at this point also with the other concepts that we will, you know, be entertaining, is my thought. It may not even, they may not even want it. They may not even be part of it. But it just needs, I think it needs to be an option.
Yeah, I don't think there's any harm in asking the question if the sportsman club would even be interested, because if the answer is no, then we know we gotta use the whole space for what we're gonna do.
Right.
And nobody's saying that by asking, you know, we're leading them on that they're going to get it either. You know, just asking, you know, they may be like, you know what, we're putting so much money into this patio, we don't wanna spend another dime.
Let me just say, we can actually, I'm looking right now at what that would entail, and I can give you a pretty accurate estimate of how much property would be required. That can be part of your consideration at your first meeting. But I mean, for them to really have, let me just say this, for them to be able to get any amount of parking, which would only be, maybe an additional,
I think maybe 4.
no, actually, I
Or
think you could,
5.
if you double loaded it,
I
I
don't know
mean,
that it's wide enough.
but
to
you
double.
would need,
You're saying 4 or 5 parking spots would fit?
if you double loaded the parking, they would end up picking up maybe 12 spaces at the back there. But it would take 60 feet of the back of the property to do that.
And it would take like 4 of their parking spots away
Correct.
for the entrance.
For them
So
to be able to,
in the
yeah, to
gist
enter
of
it,
it
yeah,
all.
but we could probably arrange it, they could maybe pick up a couple spaces, but,
Yeah, but
it's gonna take,
Going back
yeah, it's
to
gonna
that.
take 60 feet, it's gonna take at least 60 feet from the back of your property, which is, I think, 110 feet deep.
Who's,
But if it's there and once we draw it out to see, it may not be feasible.
Right.
Might be, but, I mean,
Well, I can.
in this conceptual
Mhm.
position right now, it needs to be thrown in there with the rest of them too.
Sure. Well, we can document, we
If
can show you
possible.
before we even
If
get
possible.
involved in all of that,
Right.
what it would take
Mhm.
and how much of your property would actually be, and you may say, well, that's
Yeah.
worth it, or that's not worth it, that's
'Cause
up to you.
It may not even be worthwhile. 3
Yeah.
parking spots, they're gonna
Right.
lose 4, so.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But this
I'm
is
fine
the
with
idea,
that.
and
I
maybe,
mean-
I'm gonna say something here, that maybe one conceptual meeting is not gonna be enough.
Mhm.
So I'm going to qualify the proposal by saying, if we have to do additional meetings before we do conceptual design, we'll simply do that on an hourly basis.
Sure.
okay,
And
But
we
I took the initiative to put this proposal together because, and frankly, you could use anybody else that you want. But the fact of the matter is you're gonna need some professional guidance, I think, from somebody to do this plan, to get to this point. And to help you work through, put your ideas into practical reality. So, you can either, go this direction, or, decide that you wanna, allow someone else to do it. But I wanted you to, the only reason I'm laying this stuff out for you is so that you can really start to get moving on this stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and we can obviously have subcommittee meetings to come up with ideas and concepts.
Sure.
Because we don't want our first meeting, as far as putting ideas together, to be that initial meeting
No.
when they're taking the ideas that will become the stamped plan.
Correct.
Or one of 2
Yeah,
stamped
we
plans.
want you to use our time most
Efficient.
efficiently, for professional consulting advice. After you've already thought about, what you have, what you really wanna do.
do you need to be at every meeting?
No,
And do you think, okay,
no, in fact, I'm not going to be. I mean, Chris Nordstrom, who's a registered landscape architect from our office, is gonna be the one doing this.
doing this project or help facilitate the DDA for the township with us, like you're doing now?
Well, I'm gonna continue to do
Okay.
that, Sam, but
The
I
only
mean,
reason I
it's
ask-
not necessary for me to be at these types of meetings.
Yeah, that's why, yes, the reason I was asking
Right.
is, cause we may wanna have 1 or 2 DDA board meetings to
Sure.
come up with what we wanna
Yeah,
start
and-
start the process with of what, and reach out in the community, get some ideas, and then have our meeting with the
Correct.
guys that we're hiring.
So
you
I
know,
think it's
just-
better if you come to some degree of consensus about what it doesn't have to be detailed, but at least what your objectives are. Because otherwise, you can waste a lot of the consultant's time, while you're still, deciding what you want to do or what you want the end result to be. Chris is very good and very patient in working with community groups, and has really good ideas, but it's always better if we're really putting, we are reacting to what your ideas are, and then being able to put it into a plan and a visual image that now you have something you can move forward with. So,
Very good. All right, any other thoughts about that design? I do think we need to have another meeting shortly to go over what we want as far as a design. We've talked about many ideas, but to bring them together and maybe get some input from the public would be nice to see what they want.
Yeah, see if there's any nonprofits that wanna be an option
Yeah,
to, I could see that there could be an opportunity for one of the service groups in town to wanna, I'm just throwing some out there. So say it was the Township's, the Lions Park, and the Lions were gonna fundraise, donate money, put in memorial, it doesn't have to be that, but something like that. There, we should at least see if there's any interest in, partnering with people to help maintain it once the DDA installs it, because this is, then it's gonna be, the DDA is gonna dissolve, then the passion of the project's gonna dissolve, then the township's just gonna own it, and then it's gonna be left up to a guy that cuts grass, so that's why I keep going back towards the help, cause I know how this works. Someone's gotta be passionate about and stay involved years later, and I think that's how you do it with a group of, with a 501(c) or multiple ones that take it on, have a little skin in the game and take it on as their own. It might be something we wanna make sure that we at least look into that,
Do we have any other veteran parks in the township?
no.
No,
No,
we don't have any.
no
that I'm
dedication
aware of.
parks.
We have the semblance of a memorial, fire, it's a fire memorial. Fireman, what's the rock out here, Sam? Where the, It's not
I
a
never
veterans-
walked out there to read it,
it's
I
been
don't
a
know
long
what it
time.
is.
It's a long time, but
So
you,
we'll
no,
all
we
go
do not.
after this.
yes.
But,
Use that.
you
That'd
know,
be a bit-
yeah, so,
The veterans.
no,
They
we
have
don't,
multiple.
we're probably one of the few communities that they seem that don't have, but we've got a couple VFWs, we've got
Mhm.
American Legions, we've got,
Mhm.
we've got a lot of those, and they're buried back on Mary Sue and back in the woods, and they, and they don't have any hey, recognition of our
Perhaps we
service
could-
type thing, so those are I think, the more likely groups to commit, because they have their own statues, they have memorials, they have a reason to honor people, more than, the garden club, let's say, or something. So that, just as part of
if you need more time to conceptualize in your minds what you wanna do, we have time. There's plenty of time here. We've got plenty of work ahead of us this fall to get that building down and get that site restored. So there's in terms of the design work, there's absolutely no rush on that.
Right.
It could be done starting the first of next year. If you wanna spend the rest of this year, I just want you to get moving on this so that you feel like you're accomplishing something now that we have this property. So if there's a different way to do this or think about this, have at it, seriously. And then it's always better if you bring a consultant in, and I don't care who it is, after you've already generated, the worst thing you can do is to come into a situation with a consultant and have a blank slate and don't give that person any direction. Because then they're just gonna I don't care who it is, whether it's us or anybody else, will try to come up with their best thoughts about that. The better thing to do is for you to do whatever you want to in terms of due diligence to get your focus on what you really think the best thing to do with this property really is. We know for sure it's gonna have some kind of entry sign. What else, And I think if you need the rest of this year to talk about that, we can hit the ground running in January with this design process, once you can give your consultant the direction that person's going to need.
Sure. I think deadlines are good, though. I don't think we're gonna do anything with that land until probably spring, right?
Yeah.
So to have a design by then would be good, so you know, that's on us to get together more than, you know, once every 3 months to discuss these things, to come up with a solid plan
Yep.
for a, you know, a collective ideas, because if we can agree, then we can bring that, or different proposals to the designer, and then they've got, you know, something to work with so that they can get to work. We obviously can't do anything until the building and
Right.
the parking lot's gone. But
That's important.
Well, you do have
Yeah.
deadlines, because I think you're gonna wanna start to show stuff, yeah.
for sure. And even, you know, even what Gus just brought up, you know, there's no reason why we can't, talk about putting flags on light poles. That's a fairly inexpensive thing that we can do, even if we do it seasonally. So if we only do it like, you know, once every, you know, we talked about doing 4th of July, we talked about doing harvest season, we talked about Christmas and another one. Spring, thank you. And, you know, doing that should be a fairly, you know, easy thing that we can do inexpensively, to show the community that we're putting things together.
Let's see if I can find this.
Who would
website.
we talk to about that? Cause it's gonna require, the DPW, you know, to put them up and down like they do for the village.
Yeah.
But, you know, there might be a fee for that. The flag designs, you know.
To attach them to the poles themselves.
Yeah, that they go with the bucket truck like they do in the village, they do it and change them and put the banners up for them and all that. So they're gonna be a player in this, which is fine, but, you know, I'd be happy to talk to Dave McKee, unless you want to, David, to get, like, how do they play into it, and then someone else can work on the actual, like, what the banners look like and the design of them and all of that, or,
I'm gonna give you a reference, so that to stimulate your thinking. There's a Michigan-based company called Kalamazoo Banner Works that does the majority of this type of work that I am aware of. They have stock banners and they have custom banners. They'll do whatever you want. They, you know, and they've been around for a long time, and I think if you see, you know, if you go onto their website and you see all of the sample type of banners, it'll start to stimulate your thinking about what you wanna do. Yeah, the installation is a whole nother issue, and that's, I don't even know if, does the DPW have a bucket?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so,
think so.
that's, you know, that would have to be, you know, part of the whole deal, but, I'll just reference you, Kalamazoo Banner Works, and it's probably one of a number of companies around the country, but it is a Michigan company that we have used in the past and others have.
Is that their website?
Yeah.
Kalamazoo
I'm showing you,
Bannerworks.com?
yeah, it's Kalamazoo Banner Works, and it will begin to give you some really good ideas, I think, about, you know, they have stock banners, they have custom design banners, they'll do whatever you want.
that's something that could happen
Yeah,
fast.
that's great. That's great.
That we could do quickly,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Perhaps get them up for Christmas anyways.
that would be awesome.
I mean, I'm just
Cool.
looking right now, there's a star, you know, a star spangled type banner
Mhm.
that then all you do is you put, you know, you imprint a name at the bottom of it. So it's a stock banner that they will custom print for you.
Yep.
So stuff like that, you
And
know?
the
That's great.
city just redid their,
Logo.
yeah, no, well, they did that too, but they just redid those signs in downtown, or the banners
They
on
just
them
switched
too.
them?
Yeah, they updated them.
We're in the harvest moon mode now, downtown?
I don't know if they switched it to that. I think it was a couple of them that were, like related to a business in town, but I can check with
There's
them
the
to
fall
see just where
harvest
they.
banner right there. I
When
mean,
they ordered
most
them.
communities use Kalamazoo, I mean, it's because they have such a huge selection of stock banners, and then they'll do custom stuff for you
I
too.
wonder if that's where the city got them
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Can you find out, Kendall?
Yeah, I'll ask.
Awesome. All right, awesome. So, any ideas of, you know, anybody wanna say anything else on that about design, or should we move on to the financial, report?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just thinking that maybe we should consider, as we discussed, a date or a proposal, like looking at calendars, for a date within the next few weeks to kind of keep it rolling.
Right.
I don't know if you,
For another meeting like this or subcommittee meeting?
subcommittee meeting.
Okay.
just so that, and we could create the subcommittee of everyone,
Yeah,
not separate, like we have two separate ones now.
right.
But that would just kind of keep, let's get our ground feet underneath us.
Yeah. I'd like to do it sooner than later, personally.
Christmas is a crazy time when nobody
Chris-
likes to get together with.
Thanksgiving, yeah, so I'd like to do it, yeah, as soon as possible.
Do you wanna get the whole group together, or, so we gotta have they gotta be advertised, so we
Well,
can
if
have
you,
a.
yeah, if you
But
meet
we
as
can
a-
have an advertised workshop sitting back there at the round table.
Yeah, it
We
still
just
has to
gotta
be a public,
advertise
yeah,
it. We
it
gotta
has to
tell
be a
them we're
public
having it.
meeting, but,
Even if it's called a subcommittee?
well, if you just have a subcommittee meeting, no. If you
That
don't
can
have a
only be 4
quorum,
people.
but if you have the full DDA part of this, then yes, it has to be a public
Yeah,
meeting.
if there's 5 of us, we gotta advertise it. If
So
there's-
we could have a public workshop and just.
We can have a public workshop and advertise it. It doesn't necessarily have to be televised, you know? I don't know if we have always televised our workshops. I don't think we
I don't
did.
think you have to do that, no.
You know, but
It
we,
has to
that
be-
way the public could come and give us input in a more casual setting, working around the table, like that, and then we could all participate. And it's just a matter of putting it in the paper, you
Right.
know, whenever we pick a date.
Mhm.
Well, I'm looking at the calendar right now, and October 16th is almost a month from now, and it's on a Wednesday, so we could do a board meeting that day, 6 PM, and that way, that gives us a month to come up with our ideas. So we just all throw all of our ideas together and try to come up with a conclusion.
Do you need anything from us in preparation for that?
I don't think so, 'cause
Okay.
we're just talking ideas.
Who's gonna have Brian set it up?
I'm gonna let him know,
On the 16th?
yeah.
Alright, 'cause I'm flying out that next morning, but I can make it for that. Go from Utah.
Okay, so
Um,
October 16th at 6 PM, you said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to do an additional meeting, October 16th, 2024 at 6 PM for a design plan meeting,
Workshop?
workshop, yeah, workshop meeting.
I support that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm letting Brian know right now.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
I think they wanna advertise it as a work, you know,
Hmm.
it kinda
Yeah, I'd-
changes the perspective, you know?
And I would love for the public, for anybody listening, I would love for the public to be there to give their input too.
Mhm.
You know, I don't want, we're here to represent the people and we want their ideas.
And the sooner their ideas come in, the better.
Right, right, but this could give us time to talk, to these different banner people, this could give us time to talk to the Legion Halls. We can talk to Sportsman's by then to see if that's a closed door. These are all things that we can do in a month, and then come together and throw our ideas on the wall. So the next item is the preliminary financial report.
Yep. I believe that was included in your
Yeah, it's
packets,
at the back.
but your fund balance right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $40,000, which is what we anticipated. There are gonna be some expenditures that come out of the environmental stuff. I am anticipating that you're gonna have probably roughly around $34,000 to work with the balance of this year. We will start collecting, tax increment, the winter tax collection, probably most of it comes in, quite a bit of it comes in before the end of the year, but they don't really book it or account for it until the following year. My recollection is we have about 160,000 in tax increment capture next year. That's what was estimated. It could well be more than that. Out of that, you will have a $60,000 installment payment to the township. So you're gonna have roughly, 100,000 to work with next year,
Mhm.
okay? So,
It's a good start.
it's a good start, We've already sort of put together a rough budget for the township board, and we made it very general for you. Most of it was the entryway stuff, but, it can, as long as we can always be amended. But the point of it is, we had to get something in so that it's in the budget process for next year.
Go for it, Roseanne.
I just wanna bring to light for the people who don't know that, we did find out that the county, I'm sure most of you heard, but the public may not have, that we found from the county that they have identified White Lake Road and Dixie as an intersection that needs.
Actually, MDOT.
MDOT, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So it's on the list for 2025 to have another left turn lane from,
26.
Yeah, I saw 26.
oh, 26.
Clerk's
Sorry, I don't mean to be corrected.
No, correct me,
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, I just,
Yeah, and we have.
I just wanna make sure people know, because we had talked about maybe having, people keep throwing around, well, we might need to use DDA money for that road improvement. And if they're gonna make the road improvement, then that means that we don't need to, but if we were in dire need of, for safety reasons, so that's a big deal for the DDA, because that means we're gonna be able to keep a lot more of our money for, that's just one huge multi-million-dollar project that we're not gonna need to absorb, hopefully,
Let me tell you what I do know. We have a meeting Monday with MDOT, a scoping meeting with MDOT, and when you go to a meeting with MDOT, you go to the meeting with MDOT. I mean, they always outnumber us. But it is good news in the fact that they have identified this. This is a project for 2026. From what we understand from the preliminary scoping that we have seen from them, the major improvement is a dual left-hand turn lanes at White Lake Road. They've looked at other options, such as a roundabout and other things, but have determined that the most effective, among the most effective things will be the dual left-hand turns. So there will be a widening of White Lake Road, because most of the traffic is going northbound on one, Kim, because you experience it all the time.
Yeah.
Most of the traffic is going to be going northbound on White Lake Road. And so consequently, that is good news, and we have not seen anything identified where there'll be any local match.
Right.
So that could be very positive, which means a major budget item that we had in your budget for roadway improvements now can be used for something else.
So to add to that, while you're having the meeting
Yes.
with MDOT,
Mhm.
the possibility of reserving space for our DDA sign, that was one of the avenues we talked about, is needing a signage area. I don't know if in their plan, because they are widening, if we
Yeah,
can piggyback on something there and save us even more of those funds to get that sign on that side of the DDA.
Yeah.
I think there, or even there's other possibilities with them.
Yeah, maybe.
Just, we have had continuing discussions with the owners of the White Lake Commons about a restricted access onto White Lake Road to mitigate some of the serious traffic issues that have occurred there. They were positive discussions, so I think there's a lot of possibilities for all these things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yep,
about,
I do,
because you were at the
yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
so, yeah.
I was like, well, as far as our board's concerned, we are always looking for that space to put that
Mhm.
boundary sign in it, or signage or marquee in,
Yeah.
and that would be excellent timing for us to do it at that time, especially in 26, because this project will have been running hopefully,
Mhm.
and then that one could come into play with it.
Absolutely. So, things are gonna start happening. They seriously are. I think you are probably going to see more TIF revenues than what we estimated, because we made a very conservative estimate by our nature. That's how we make sure we do those, so that you over-deliver, not over-promise. And because I think, with the redevelopment of the Big Boy site, there will be some type of project probably approved for White Lake Commons because they have the open area there that can be filled in. I think they're starting to come up with a plan to, that's gonna be acceptable. So that'll be new tax revenues. And, you know, I think we're starting to see more interest in Dixie Highway, quite frankly, which is what the goal was.
That's the goal, yep.
So yeah, that was, so that's all good stuff, and I think that's all that I have to say tonight.
How much insight do you have when you're talking with MDOT? How much does your, you know, voice expand at those meetings? Because they're talking about, you know, making traffic flow better, but on the opposite, on the Holcomb side, by the cemetery, it's really congested too.
Yeah.
So
I'll know more on Monday.
if they
Yeah.
widen that, like, you know, in front of the Deer Lake Athletic Club and the Walgreens, that would help on that side too.
Yeah,
There's no right turn lane there, is there?
There is, but not until you pretty much get to Walgreens.
But isn't the right turn lane a straight
The
lane?
straight lane also.
Oh,
So
yeah,
there's
yeah,
no
you're right, yes,
designated
yes, if
right-
there was a
no
right-hand turn lane,
designated
that
right
would,
turn lane.
that would help, yeah.
Usually, I mean, we'll know more on Monday, but usually when they're doing a capacity improvement on one side of the intersection, they'll usually need to do something on the other side.
Mhm.
Yeah, alignment and all that
Yeah,
other
I mean,
stuff.
as you know, as you came in tonight, that's exactly what has happened here.
Mhm.
That's why there's gonna be there'll be additional paving at Walden Center Drive here.
Yeah.
Exiting, onto, so, but again, we'll know more on Monday when we have the scoping meeting with them and know more about what the scope of the project is. But really, for this to happen, for MDOT to actually initiate a project, is huge. And I think it's predominantly because of the recognition of, it's one of the highest accident intersections. It is the highest accident intersection in the township, and obviously one of the highest ones on Dixie Highway.
Mhm.
So, it's a big deal.
Okay. I don't wanna get into the weeds, but I've been hearing stirs in the community about, the intersection of, Dixie Highway and Big Lake Road.
Correct.
Them developing possibly a larger gas station there. Does anybody on this board have any insight as to, you know, if that's going to,
Well, there's a
Probably
member
get
of this board that
approved.
can't speak about it because
Okay.
he's going to be making decisions about it, and I had, you know.
fair?
But it did receive a recommendation of approval from this planning commission. It is now going to the township board. Part of the proposal from, the applicant owns all the property
Mhm.
that is needed for not just where they want to put the gas station, but where Big Lake Road would, the property needed to relocate Big Lake Road.
Hmm.
And that property, the availability of that property has always been the obstacle for that project. You would never design offsetting intersections like that with a blank slate today, as it is now.
Right.
Many years ago, I think Sam knows this, several years ago, we had plans in place. Our problem was getting the property, and the then owners of that property, you know, it was cost prohibitive to try to acquire that property. This is a situation where it is as part of a public benefit for their project, and this will be up to the township board. They are proposing to donate the property that is needed. So, that's where we stand right now. It is ultimately gonna go to the township board for their decision, and it'll be up to the board.
Fair enough, okay. There's a lot of stir about it. I'm in the neighborhood adjacent, so there's a lot of people that don't want that intersection moved, but, you know, I think,
This is on the Big Lake side.
yeah, and so,
Which is, all of the part of it in the Big Lake side is actually in Springfield Township.
yeah.
And,
So sorry, I'm on the opposite side.
yeah,
I'm behind Deer Lake,
Okay.
yeah.
so, Okay, I just was curious, because we had talked about in this board, doing something where that Century 21 is in front of Neiman's. And, you know, if they're gonna put a gas station there, it kinda seems redundant to put a gas station right there as well.
There's no proposal
Nobody
for a
was ever,
gas
who was
station.
ever putting a gas station there to
There's
do
no,
that?
there's absolutely, there's no proposal for a gas station there,
Right.
and it would not be one that could be done as a freestanding gas station. Our ordinance would not permit it.
Sure. It was one of the discussion points that we had when we first started this board, when we started throwing around ideas of what we wanted to see. That's what I meant. There was no proposal
Oh, yeah.
or anything
Yeah.
drawn up, it was just an idea.
Yeah, cause gas stations are,
Well, actually, I'll be very honest with you, we are meeting today, I mean, I don't believe that the applicant has not expressed any interest in putting a gas station there. I mean, he has other,
it would be a hard road for him to climb to do that.
well, and not only that, it'd have to be all internal access, and, because there's, you know, that, and it's in a hole there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it wouldn't, but I would not anticipate.
We don't have any property currently zoned to allow a gas station
Okay,
in the township.
So.
cool. All right, moving on. So we talked about subcommittees. I don't think anybody's in the public anymore either, so, anybody else have anything else that they want to add before we adjourn? Yes, Kim, go for it.
She always raises her hand first. She's quick. She's quick down there at that end.
I am wondering, because I'm not familiar with it, might be written someplace, but I haven't taken the time. Can we investigate replacing board members that don't show up for meetings consistently?
That's a great,
Yeah, do
That's
we
a
have
great
attendance
point.
policy?
I don't know, I've never seen
Yeah.
one, but,
Right.
yeah.
Eric's in a golf league that conflicts. I know that's his issue, but not, it's just a thing. I'm just saying that if we need,
we've had the board for a year.
Yeah, we need
Golf's only a
people.
couple months a year, so.
Well, your bylaws are very clear about that,
As far as,
Voting.
not, non-attendance. So I think it's, unfortunately, supervisor is not here tonight, but, you know,
is he the appointing body on this board also? Recommending appointing body is Jose
to the township board,
for us to replace people?
correct.
Okay, so we have to get with, you gotta get with Jose and, ask him to, if he agrees to find more people.
And it's not to throw shade on anyone, we just want people that actively want to be on the board, that want to contribute, that want to help move these projects forward, that's it.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, I don't wanna I don't wanna, you know, underestimate this, but you're gonna get a lot busier,
Yeah.
you know?
and we're all relying on us showing every single time,
Right.
and
Just to
we're
have a
gonna get-
quorum.
Right,
Well,
and
it
we're going
puts-
to have an
yeah,
issue.
And frankly, from our standpoint, it puts pressure on us to try to have meetings when we don't know for sure if we're gonna have a quorum.
Right.
So, it's correct, you need some active, interested people, and I think the supervisor is gonna need to take some initiative here and deal with that.
It's,
Well, I don't know if it's on me as a chairman to also reach out to these individuals and see if they even want to be on the board anymore.
Well,
Probably.
I think it would be a nice thing
Yeah.
to do.
Sure, yeah. Because maybe they do and they have conflicting schedules, but maybe they just, oh yeah, it's something I thought would be a good idea, but my schedule's too full.
yeah,
Yeah, I can do that, I can definitely do that.
And
That-
then
that would be
if
the
anybody
polite thing to
knows
do.
anybody that might, you
Mhm.
know, be interested
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
coming, anybody, right, in the public could.
No.
Yeah,
They can sit on this board?
Yeah.
No.
well, just remember too.
You
you've
gotta
got-
you gotta be tied to the district somehow. There's
Well-
only like
Oh,
one,
you have to live within the district.
no, you
No.
can rent,
Oh,
you can own a
that's-
business,
Okay.
you could live,
Gotcha.
But that's
there's only,
just the majority of the
I
members.
know, there's only, I think there's two of us that can be just, regular residents in the township.
Yeah, one of, the supervisor is a ad hoc, or, no, that's not what I'm trying to think. That's not-
Tiebreaker,
Pardon me?
tiebreaker.
No, the supervisor is,
Administrator.
by nature of his office, has to be on the board, okay? So that's one, and then you have 5 that have to have some business interest, and you have to have 1 that's a resident. So you're right, Sam.
There's limitations
There's only like
to it.
1 or 2 positions that can more or less be from anywhere, you know? But the majority of the board has to have a business interest, which is broadly defined. 1 has to be a resident, which I think that's you, Kim.
That's me, I think.
Yeah.
David,
1 has to be the supervisor, so that's now 7.
Business,
Yeah.
business.
And so you're right, you have two
And so-
other
he's a
positions.
business, he's a
He's a
Yeah,
business,
you have
he's
2
a
other positions
business.
that don't necessarily have to be one of those, okay? So you can have other people on it, you know,
Well, there's plenty of businesses on Dixie.
yeah.
I know, I went door to door knocking on them, trying to get people to do, all these people to do it for us. My you know what, I just thought of this, is maybe, that we should try to, at that next meeting, get our resident board to come
Yeah,
Good
to
idea.
that 16th meeting, and have that group that we put together of those 12 homeowners, that live in the district that represent, try to get that public input, cause then it's kinda like,
You want me to
you're kinda like,
make that- Okay,
you're kind of more required to, you know, more officially, like, hey, you're our residential board that we have to, answer to, kind of,
Mhm.
you know, and see if we can get them to come.
Cause we don't know all the
For the
contact
workshop.
information from all that, so.
They're all
We
officially
do.
sworn in people too, so they,
we
Brian
have
or
all their-
whatever could figure all that out.
We have all their phone numbers and emails from their original
Okay.
roster too.
And if Dick can
we've
coordinate with
got it.
them to get the board
Yeah.
together.
okay, I just sent a message to Brian that would also like the Citizen Advisory Board to come, if they can.
Do you, wanna assign any tasks before we go? Like, I don't mind talking to Dave about getting us, coming back to get information on how if they would participate with flags going up and down on the poles. I
Yes.
could do that. Sounds like Kate, you were gonna do something.
Yep, I'm gonna check with the city and who they recently updated those banners.
What vendors they used
Yep.
Mhm.
to do
Okay.
the flags.
I don't mind doing it, I'm just gonna officially say, I'll go do that for us.
Yes, thank you.
know, So,
Mhm.
Thank you.
I didn't know what other,
I'll talk to the board members to see if they still wanna be on the board.
Okay.
I think that
do
covers
we have
everything.
anyone working on the signs at all? A subcommittee on,
That's something that we could probably have as part of our meeting next month, is to discuss what are we gonna do with the property, what is our sign going to look like. I don't know, Dick, was Chris going to be involved in helping design the sign, or
No.
just the
space.
space?
No,
Okay.
that is outside of our area of expertise, and we think you should have somebody that is specifically assigned design to do that.
I like what Gus's idea with the flags though, like we could have a subcommittee do the flag design to get that
Yeah, we can,
going, you know, not me, I'm
Mhm.
saying other people.
Well, if we
Yeah.
decide, if we
We
decide
pretty
to
much
use
have
the
a
vendors,
subcommittee.
then we can, once we know if we're gonna use this Kalamazoo vendor, then we're like, okay, if we decide we're gonna do that, then we can
yeah.
get together, pick the flags from their, obviously, the ones that are on their stock are probably gonna be much cheaper and more economical to do than designing our own, and it sounds like we'll have plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then
we
just
can
put
get
our
them ordered
name
and
on
get them
them or
going,
something,
right,
so they're personalized.
You know, you just add
Yeah.
our logo on
on
it,
the bottom.
bottom.
Yeah.
Are we gonna
We're-
come up with our own logo opposed to the new bell?
I don't think we should have that. No, cause the DDA is separate from the township.
I agree.
So,
I
that
think-
was gonna be my thing. Does anybody want to, before next month, talk to, sign design companies? So that we have at least somebody that would be willing to help us design. Cause it's not just designing, it's actually, putting it together with the concrete and the stone and.
I think we first need to meet and we had ideas
Mhm.
from our previous meeting,
Yeah.
and we had a few of them.
Mhm.
I think we kinda need to narrow that scope before we go to those sign companies to say, give me an estimate on how I would make this a reality and whatever. So maybe our first meeting, we can do that, and then go out and reach for those bids. I don't,
Do you know,
they're so
A
very.
lot of times, it's helpful, before you go to a sign company, is to actually get a graphic designer to do some image work for you. Is there anybody local here that you would consider to be a graphic designer?
I'm sure there's somebody in Clarkston.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Chamber, got anybody?
Mm-hmm, yeah. we
I
might have
mean,
someone.
these are the people that, that are in commercial design, graphic design,
Yes.
that can draw, that can take your thoughts and draw and transform it into a pretty picture.
Mhm.
I mean, that might be helpful.
Well, in our design meeting, we had photographs of something to what we wanted,
Right.
very specific, different ideas, but we did
Mhm.
create photographs and selections, so everyone had a clear vision
Mhm.
from those looks, but, altering them here and there would be a good idea for the graphic designer to add to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And are we designing like a DDA logo and then that is what will be on the signage? Or it's just
I would
the
think that's the
signage that we're
township
looking for,
logo.
right?
Yeah, just like a welcome to Independence Township.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and the DDA can be identified on the sign.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
welcome to Independence Township, Downtown Development Authority can be right on there if you want to. You
Or
don't
the
have to.
the downtown district, or
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for that, getting, all that going, so.
Anything else? Well, I will make a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
I'll support your motion.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
all right.
Any opposed? No? All right, awesome. Great
Okay.
meeting, guys. Thank you.
Good meeting.